All right, we should be good to go.
Awesome. So welcome everyone to our call 2 in our Grow series. This is such a fun way for all of us across different organizations to connect and grow together. So this is call 2. It's covering bookings. Call 1 was covering mastering the basics and just kind of the overview of how all of this would work. And as many of you know, we just got back from an exciting incentive trip in Jamaica. Now, who out there is super excited for the 2018 Panama trip?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So fun. So if you do not have that on your radar or do not have enough information to have that on your radar, definitely touch base with your upline leader on that and we'll get you all figured out. There is a phenomenal trip tracker in each of our back offices that will map out exactly how you need to get there. So definitely check with your upline leader about that. And then we had set some homework for you guys to tackle while we were away. Who listened to those, the call series that we listed? Did anyone have a chance to do that? Couple hands up. Awesome. So we just wanted to take a few minutes to just hear some feedback about what you heard and or listened to, depending on if you listened or if you watched the actual webinar playbacks on your computer. So if anyone wants to share any takeaways or aha moments or things that they learned from those calls, feel free. Jamie, can I call you out? Erwin?
Sure. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yep.
Oh, you can? Oh, this thing does work. Well, I did realize the one that got me the most was the time and blocking. I've never really been good at it unless I was in school, and then when I had my daughter, school ended and chaos just happened. And I actually started filling out the papers that we were printing off, and I realized how much more time I actually have. So I've been trying to focus on, now that I know I'm still active, thank you, Annie.
You're welcome. It gets crazy when you have 2 people in your org with the exact same name.
That was an epic message. Thank you.
I just taking care of you, girl.
But I've been trying to use my time a little bit better, especially with my husband's really crazy work schedule.
Yeah.
Those are my people I work with. Sorry.
You're fine.
But yeah, I just, like, tonight I have to take him to work at 10, but I got a couple things on my group page that I posted and things like that, and got some phone calls done when this is asleep. So that was the best one for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think time blocking is key. Like, I love time blocking and I love training on time blocking. Like, I just think it helps with that consistency. And that's what I talked about last week. Like, that's kind of my key word is consistency. And I think that time blocking allows you to do that.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to share anything that they learned? Anything that you're implementing in your business, maybe that you have started implementing since our call week before last? Okay. Well, if you think of anything, please feel free to jump in and share. We love this feedback. We'll also post some different questions and interaction throughout the weeks on the Grow Series page. So feel free to plug in there as well. Sometimes people are a little shy to share on a video, but posting is sometimes easier. So feel free to share that way as well. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Annie, who's going to share with us some awesome tips on bookings.
Awesome. So before we do that, I'm going to add something to what you were just saying about what have you guys implemented and what are you doing? And this may sound, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of tough love right now, because if you're doing this series and you're just listening and then not implementing anything, it's really a waste of time. Okay. So when you do this, just write down one thing. Like that's how I grew my business from the very beginning. I would do a training and there would be so much information. Sometimes I would feel really, really overwhelmed. But if I could just take one nugget out of every training and apply it and implement it into my business, then it was one step closer that I was growing. And that's literally how I have grown my business all throughout. And that's what I still do. Anytime I do a training, I find, 1 to 2, 3 nuggets, and I apply and implement one at a time. So I would just challenge you for this week to figure out what that one nugget is going to be for you. And if you want to write, 5 down, that's fine, but only implement one at a time until you feel like you've mastered that, and then move on to the next thing. Okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And to go along with that, there's the Grow workbook that if you're printing off, it kind of walks you through those things as well, to kind of write down nuggets that you'd like to implement, any questions that you have along the way, takeaways, and some additional resources as well.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, how many printed off the kind of report card, the checklist that is called Mastering the Basics? Did you guys get that printed off? That is, though, I think, a really important piece to start with, because I want you to do that before we even go through the series, so you can see where you have room for growth. Okay? So in that, how about I'll ask you guys this. How many of you guys feel like you're a master at bookings? Okay, no, okay. I actually love teaching on bookings, and one reason I love this series is because we're dividing it up by, kind of where our strengths are, and bookings are one of the things that, again, I think it has to do with consistency. When your bookings are really strong, the business is super, super consistent, okay? And there's different ways that you can get bookings. But where I want to start with you guys tonight is really to know how to get bookings, or what kind of bookings you want, how many you want. You actually have to start with your basic of, why are you doing this business? And what is your vision? What is your why? Okay? If you guys don't have that determined and figured out yet, it's really hard to say, hey, I want to do 4 parties a month, or I want to do 6 parties a month, or I want to do 10 parties a month, because you don't really know why you're doing them yet. Okay, so I would encourage you, this is action step number 1, if you want to jot this down, is to really know what your why is. And I want you to work with your upline to figure out what that why is. And when you have that, you can figure out your goal, and it's going to be different for everybody. And from that, you can figure out how many bookings do you need to do to reach your goal every month. And then you want to book 2 more than that. And that's because of cancellations. And they happen all the time. I was supposed to have a party next Monday, and it just canceled. The lady was in the hospital the whole last week. Okay, so things happen. It happens to all of us. So get your goal plus 2. Okay, but you really can't set your goal until you know why you're doing this and what you're going for. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that's the first thing. And then I just want to reiterate, how much we need everybody here. It takes so many hands to be involved and to spread Wild Tree's mission. And that's what we are here to do. And that's what our bookings does. It's really, like Lynn Conway, one of our old trainers, it's the heartbeat of our business is bookings. And we have to have those to reach and meet other people and spread the mission of Wild Tree. So, okay, I have notes because sometimes I go on crazy tangents. So I'm going to just make sure I'm kind of following along in those. The other thing that I really stress, and this kind of has to do with the time management, is to know how to plan your parties. So once you know how many you're going to do, if your plan is to do 6 parties a month, then I literally take out my calendar, and I get one of those, just the free calendars that come in the mail, usually at the beginning of the year and sometimes throughout the year. And what I do, I think Teegan, you had one from like Target in the $3 bin that was great to use. But literally, this is my calendar. And then I highlight the dates that I can work. And that's it. So when I take my calendar to my parties, this is what it looks like. And I literally just slap it down. And I'm like, this is my calendar. Sign up for any date that's, highlighted and open. Okay. So I work completely around my kids' schedule and my family's schedule. So I had a week of vacation. This is May. I had a week of vacation at the beginning. We have a family vacation at the end. So I'm working kind of in between those. Okay. Every month for me looks different. So this is April. So April, I had more parties available. May, I have a little less. Okay. And then I usually set these. So like here's my June. And you'll notice in June, the other thing I'm going to point out right now is know what's going on in your community, in your area, and like with the season. So June and July, August, I tend to only book parties during the week, Monday through Thursday. And the reason for that is because when I have them on the weekend, I usually get a ton of cancellations. And then the hostess isn't happy because all of her friends decided to go to the lake for the weekend and everyone backed out at the last minute. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's why I choose to do that. That's just what I've seen in the history. So I usually work during the summer, Monday through Thursdays. And then it's fun because I can go to the lake too and not worry about it, So I'm just, I'm playing and having fun as well. So just know what's going on and how to schedule around like the vacations that I had in May, how I'm scheduling around the summer. This is so important, okay? So step one, figure out how many parties your goal is to do. And then step two is to truly work around your family schedule. And that's going to look completely different for everybody. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Or Teegan, Danielle, any other points you guys want to throw out there? Okay. So the other thing that I do is I always give people, when I'm talking to them, if I'm trying to book a party, I give them the next 2 dates that I have available. So like right now, my June is what I'm booking. So if someone called me and said, what are your next 2 available dates, or I want to have a party, I'd say, how about June 7th or June 22nd? Because that's all I have open right now. But that's what I'll tell them. I do not give them my July dates unless they ask me for it. Okay, and the reason for that is you can get more business up here, and then you can book your July with the parties you did in June. Okay, so it's very important to always know kind of your next 2 dates that are available. So if you're out and about talking to somebody, off the top of your head, you can be like, oh, hey, I have June 7th or the 22nd. One's a Wednesday, a Thursday. Do one of those nights work best for you? And just be ready with that, okay? So that's kind of key.
Annie, can I add to that?
Yeah, jump in. I can't hear you very well.
You can't?
Oh, there, that's better.
Better?
Yeah.
And I think creating this sense of everybody wants to do a workshop and everybody wants to do business. So I remember actually when I ran into you and you were like, it's November, the beginning of November, and you're like, I'm actually booked till February.
Yeah.
Now, I guarantee if I would have wanted a workshop somewhere in there, you probably would have found a way. But I was like, wow, even me, and I'm usually not naive, but I was like, okay. So I think when you say that, and also just saying, my calendar is booked. So you can have nothing on your calendar, but saying that confidence of saying, my calendar's booked, but I actually think I can squeeze in either this date or that date. Instead of, whenever, morning, noon, night, weekends, whatever you want to do, like protect your space, work around your family, like you said, but also make it seem like it's in high demand what we do.
Yeah.
Create that illusion, even if you're brand new, because of course, when you're brand new, you're just trying to get business, but still coming off with that confidence and creating that illusion that your dates are going really fast.
Yeah, that's a great point, Danielle. It's like creating that sense of urgency. So when I first, this is just a little tidbit, when I first started doing workshops and really getting that part of my business going, I had, and this is when I literally went from team leader every other month to director 5 months later. How I did that was I had 3 people at my first workshop at my house. And I said, these workshops are amazing. They are so hot. Everyone's going to want them. You're going to want to get on my calendar as soon as possible. And from those 3 people, 1 signed up as a rep and 2 booked a party. I had nothing on my calendar and no other plan at that point. But I just, like Danielle was saying, created that sense of, hey, this is going to get crazy. I'm going to get booked up. And I actually thought that was going to be true as well. And that is ultimately what happened. So creating that sense of urgency is really, really important.
So for new people or people who, whatever, have a lull in your calendar, it's finding what's relevant right now. So if you haven't talked to someone about Wild Treat before, they don't know that Backyard Barbecue and Get Your Grill On are always in our lineup. So say, oh my gosh, we have these grilling bundles. And because of that, because everybody is so excited for grilling season and the weather to be nice, I know I'm going to pick up bass. So I can probably squeeze you in like, you know, June 2nd or the 6th, if one of those would work for you. Otherwise, we'll have to look. So finding what something that makes it seem, because yeah, workshops aren't new now, but it's grilling season. So what's new that you can talk about?
Yeah. Okay, so any questions so far? I'm going to kind of go to a different area of bookings. Okay, so who do you ask, right? Where do you get bookings from? Okay, so these are the places. So if you want to jot notes, please write these down. And I'm sure there's more, but contact list of 100. That is your living, breathing document. Like I still have mine from when I first started and I still add people to it. Okay. Booking parties at your parties. That's my number one thing that I do. Saves us a ton of time if you can book parties at a party. Your customer care surveys, they look like this. Okay. And then cold leads, which would be to me like somebody I'm sitting at the soccer game or baseball game or car dealership and I'm just chatting up somebody and they ask me what I do and it goes back and forth and we end up talking about a party. I've actually booked several parties that way. So that's what I would consider like cold calls, cold leads. And then also posting on Facebook. You can definitely get parties from that. Another thing I do if I am using like this customer survey, the people that have marked like from a 2 to a 7, I'll email a handful of those at a time and give out 3 dates. Like I only have these 3 dates left and I'll send it to about 8 people and say, let me know if you're interested. I'll call you in the next day if I don't hear from you. Okay. On this customer care form, who all uses this? Do you guys all use this? Kathy's team? Okay. You guys all use this? Okay. This is what I use a lot of. And at every party, I am asking people at checkout. And a lot of times I don't even look at this. I just get it from them. And then I just say, hey, what do you think about partying with your friends? When's a good time for you? And I just kind of see what they say. Sometimes it's harder to have a conversation with some people, and so I may use this as a starting point and say, oh, I see you marked a 5 on having a workshop. Tell me what that means. And I have like that meaningful conversation to find out really why did they put a 5. And a lot of times I'm getting my kitchen redone. Several times I've had people say, well, I can't do a party in the next week or so, so I just put a 5. I'm like, well, how about in like a month? And they're like, oh yeah, I could do that. I'm like, fantastic. And I'm thinking, I'm already booked, 4 to 6 weeks out. So that works great for me too. But you never know what these numbers mean unless you ask. So every person you should be asking. And if you don't have a chance at the party for whatever reason, within 24 to 48 hours, this is what I use to call them. And I just say, hey, I was going through my surveys from the party and I saw that you marked, so whatever it is, tell me more about that. And from a recruiting standpoint or team building, I always start with that one if they've marked anything above a 0. And then I go to the bookings. Okay. So that's how I use that. Anything, Teegan, Danielle, you guys want to add? Anybody else want to add on to where to get bookings from?
Vendor event.
Vendor events.
Vendor event. Yeah.
Yep. And along with the customer care surveys, guys, like I hear a lot of feedback from my people about how sometimes it's intimidating to have a conversation based on their survey scores. And something that I recently learned, some verbiage that I really liked, was that let's say they circled a 0 on booking and you really wanted to, let's say your calendar was empty or you wanted to, get some bookings that evening. Some verbiage that I really liked that kind of jived with connecting with anybody regardless of what they put was, let's say they put a 0, you could say, it looks like you have very little interest in. Can you tell me more about that? Whether it be booking or it looks like, hey, it looks like you have very little interest in booking. Was there anything about tonight that you found exciting? Or, at the beginning of the event, I always have my people start thinking about a handful of friends or family they would love to share this with. So I always reference that at the end too, like, oh, I see it looks like you have very little interest in doing a workshop. Can you tell me more about that? Or, hey, have you thought of a handful of people that you would love to share this with? And kind of get them thinking more outside the lines of those numbers and rather about the interest level. So then if it was a 2 to 4, it would be you have some interest. If it was higher than that, it would be it looks like you have quite a bit of interest. Anything 7 above would be let's pick a date. So I like that little interest rather than a 0 being a firm pass, heck no. It looks like you have a very little interest. So there is still some communication level there. So it's not a hard pass until they tell you it's a hard pass. So I thought that verbiage really resonated. It actually works. It's opened up some doors that I thought felt firmly closed by their solid 0s. We all have those, right? But by saying it looks like you have very little interest in, was there anything about tonight that excited you or that you were interested in? That kind of changes the context of those numbers. So I don't know if that helps any of you out there, but I liked that interest word and kind of gauging that rather than the number scale.
I love that. That's great. Because when I see a 0, I just pretend I don't see it and I ask anyway. So I don't know what comes out of my mouth. I have to think about that, but I really like that interest word. That's great. Thank you.
I think you have to.
Hey, Annie, it's Kathy. Can I say something that works for me?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I kind of like Teegan is, like if they circle a 0 or act like they don't have any interest, I always go back 1 level. So if I tell them, what interests you as a rep, as a host, as a customer, and they say, oh, I'm going to be your best customer ever, then I go back 1 level to host. And I say, so you're saying host never, like you don't ever want to host anything? And usually they say, oh, no, I just mean not right now, but I will like in a month from now, just like you said. So my language is I say, you saying you host never, you're never interested. I'm like, oh, no, not never. So that's what works for me, kind of my language.
Oh, that's awesome. Very good.
And then when that happens, set a follow-up date immediately to follow up with them in that month or couple weeks.
Yeah. And when we're talking at parties, I'm always like planting seeds at the party throughout the entire party from when people first get there. I will be talking about how the hostess didn't have to lug her cooler anywhere. How, oh, it'll be so fun to party with your friends as I'm talking to people throughout the party. So I'm always planting seeds throughout the entire night. And then I'm asking for the bookings at the end. Like you have to ask. I did a series, kind of a test to prove to my team that if you don't ask for the bookings, you will not get them. Okay. So like it was November, I think 2015 that I did this. I quit asking for bookings for 1 month to see what would happen. And I had business in January, but by not asking in January, I ran out of bookings February, March. By June, I had no bookings left on my calendar because I hadn't been asking. And so I went through and had to relaunch my business and get bookings again the same way I did in the very beginning, which I did. And then I had a huge August, September, October, November. But what I learned and what I tried to teach my team during that time period is if you do not ask for those bookings, it is really going to be hard to keep up a consistent business. So I learned that lesson, and I will never do that again because it's really hard to start over, as I think a lot of us know. So
if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Exactly. You don't ask, the answer is always no. So, and the other thing is we have a 90-day business. I don't know if you guys have heard that term before, but what you're doing right now is going to impact you 90 days later. So if you're planting seeds for this whole month, but don't get a lot of interest, don't get discouraged with that. Know that if you continue to plant those seeds in 90 days, those are going to come to fruition. And if you look at my example, like in June, I started asking for bookings. July, I still didn't have much, but by August, I really started having some, and then it just exploded September, October, and November. So remember that 90-day kind of rule. Anything else on bookings in that area? I'm going to move on to kind of the follow-up next. So if anyone has any other comments. Okay. Is this information helpful, you guys? You're getting good tips? You're thinking about like the one thing you're going to implement?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've only done my launch party, and the rest of my parties have been online and through Zoom with people out of the state.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that you are asking them at the end of the party to book, how are you getting them in a one-on-one conversation? Or is it just as you're walking around kind of talking to people as they're putting their bags together?
When I am doing a live party, like I'm at the event, I tell them during my demo, at the end of my demo, I say, okay, we're going to make our meals, but I want to tell you what's going to happen after that. We're going to all go over here. I have a checkout process that we go through. I have this survey that I would love for you to fill out so that I know how to serve you going forward. And then I'll have the catalogs over here so you can purchase more items and you can get your staples for your pantry and grab one of the customer specials for the month. So that's our checkout procedure, and we'll do that, when we're all done making our meals. So then when we actually do get done making the meals, the first person that's done, I kind of have like this little celebration, like, all right, Melissa's done making her meals. She's going to come over to my checkout station over here and fill out that survey. And I just remind them again, because they forget. They totally forget. And I think reps sometimes, especially newer reps, don't realize that they just forget and they just assume that they don't want to fill it out. And I really don't think that's the case. Most of the time, they truly just forget that that's what is going to happen next. And so if you can remind them when that first person's done, that's what you do. And then I ask, like if I see somebody ready to go, I'm like, oh, do you have 2 seconds to fill out that survey for me? I mean, only once with a mom who was nursing a baby was like, no, but I'll call you tomorrow. And she did. But every other time they'll take 2 minutes to at least fill it out for me. So that's what I do in a live party.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How would you do a survey for the online parties?
Hey, Teegan, do you want to talk about what you're doing for that?
Yeah, for sure. I can share a template. I have an online customer care survey. So anytime I meet someone new or anytime I do a Facebook party or anything like that, I have them fill out. And I always say with the customer care survey, this is kind of the lifeblood of my business. It just helps me best serve you. And so it's the same thing with the online one. It's just a Google form that I have them fill out that kind of rates the same. It looks the same almost as the in-person paper one. So
And you just post that like to the actual event page, or do you personally
Yep.
message those to the people that ordered from you, ordered a
Well,
workshop?
I post it, and then if I have not had a good response, we all know how interaction on a Facebook post in an event goes sometimes. I'll
Yep.
personally message it, especially if they order as a follow-up and thank you for being invited to the event. I also, like I said, really use it for people who I've just met out and about or are a referral to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so on to follow-up. So this is really the follow-up kind of schedule that I use, and really it's Mo Lorenz's. I don't want to take credit for it, but I use this for my bookings and for my team building leads. And so it's the like 5-touch follow-up on day 1. I do a phone call and an email message. Sometimes I do like a text message and a Facebook message. It just depends on how I normally communicate with that person or how they like to be communicated with. I try and ask that question when I meet them. What's the best way to get a hold of you? So day 1, I do 2 forms of communication. Day 3, I do 1 form of communication. And then day 5, I do 2 forms of communication. And there's actually verbiage for this in the MRC under 10 calls a day. And what this does and why it works is on day 1 you call, and then on day 3 when they get the call they're like, oh, she's really serious, she really does want to hear from me. And then on day 5 you're saying, hey, I'm sure you're super busy, haven't heard from you yet, if you have time call me, otherwise I'm going to put you in my follow-up system for next month. And what that does is allows you to not feel like you're stalking them, you're not being pushy. They are actually you're running a business, you're doing your customer service, your care calls, and following up with them. And so it just shows your professionalism as well. Okay. And if you think about it, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but for me, like I had, we have a guy that cleans our windows once every couple years. And so he called me once and I just like ignored the phone call. I was like, whatever, I don't have time to do that right now. And then I didn't hear from him again. So I didn't even think about it. Well, then the next month he called me again, same thing, didn't hear. And then the next month he called me again. But that third month he called me day 1, day 3, day 5, and got my attention. I was like, okay, I'm just going to call this guy back. And so I called him back and scheduled for our windows to be done. So I was like, oh, that was such great follow-up and such a great example of even I ignore people if I only hear from them one time, you know? And so every other day you keep that momentum going with that person. And I feel like you get a much better response. So that's what I do for my booking leads and my team building leads that are like hot leads that I want to get booked or I want to get them signed up.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, this kind of goes along with what you're saying, but as far as booking, this is for trying to get people on my team. I've had 2 people tell me that they wanted to be on my team, and one of them actually filled out the application of the party, and she had already told my mom, because it was my mom's party, she had already told my mom days before the party that she wanted to sign up and do this. And then at the party she filled out the application and she said, can I give you the money later because I want to double check with my husband? And I said, yeah, fine. So I called her the next day to follow up, and she didn't answer her phone. And then I got discouraged because she didn't answer her phone, but I left a message. And so, like you're saying, we need to come back for that 3rd day and that 5-day. But it's been like 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks this Friday, I think. So how do I recover from that? Just call her out of nowhere?
I would just start with day 1. Yep. I would just call her and be like,
Okay.
hey, I just wanted to follow up. I didn't hear from you, and I just want to see what's going on. Give me a call. If I don't hear from you, I'll call you on Friday. Or I can't keep
Okay.
But yeah, so, and then I would do the 1, 3, 5 right now. Yep.
And so you're saying that on that first day that we call, if they don't answer, let them know that we're going to call? Like,
Yeah.
give them a lead that, hey, I'm going to call you again, so you may as well answer?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I
Okay.
usually say, I mean, but then you have to do it when you say you're
You
going
have to follow through with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll say the exact day I'm calling, and other days I'll say, like, if I don't hear from you, I'll call you in a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I
Okay.
remember, like,
Thank you.
when you call someone, if they tell you, if I don't hear from you, I'll call you in a couple days. Like, I'll call them back because I don't want them to call me again in a couple days. I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
So, I think everyone's different, but I don't think it hurts to say that.
Okay.
Yeah. I love seeing all the little kids.
So bedtime struggles.
Yeah. Okay. And again, there's in the MRC under 10 calls a day, there's more information and verbiage that you can use for that. Okay. So we talked about a couple of action items. So one would be set your goal with your upline, know why you're doing this business so that you can set that goal. Number 2 would be to look at your calendar and set the dates that you're going to be working for the next, I would say through the summer if you can. Mm-hmm. Just because the summer is kind of funky with everyone, you know, going different places. So I usually try and get my summer schedule pretty set in May. And then I really would encourage you for this week to make a list of, 40 people. If you're really struggling and don't have bookings, make a list, either get out your contact list of 100, get out your customer care surveys, whatever it is, get a bundle of about 40 people and start with 5 of them and start calling, start following up with them, start contacting them and offering them dates that you're available if they're interested in bookings. And if you're going to call them, some of the conversations, there's verbiage in there, but really if you think about just having a meaningful conversation with them, which I know some people have had some specific training around and some people haven't, but in a nutshell, a meaningful conversation is, hey, what do you do for dinner? And let them answer and listen. And then see if FileTree could be a solution for them and offer them what would work for their family. So I found that to be working really well right now. So I don't always offer staples, fast. I don't always offer those 3. Sometimes I'm like, well, here's a good little meal plan bundle that I think would work for you, or you could do this one or this one. So just listen. And by listening, that's going to give you the information you need to know what to offer them. And if you're not sure, if you're a newer rep, get the information and tell them, like, you know what, I'm really new. I want to talk to my upline about this and just really make sure that we can offer you the best service and the best products that would work for your family. Can I call you back tomorrow and set up a time, like at 2 o'clock? Have a specific time you're going to talk to them again and reach out to your upline. That's what we're all here for. We want to help you guys. So if you guys have questions like that, please, your customer will be thankful that you say that. Okay.
Yep.
So make that list, figure out who you're going to reach out to. And then the other one I really like is foundations training on this. And I think we'll post something out on the Grow Series group for that.
And let's start a fun comment thread, like a post on the Grow Series page about kind of like Danielle was saying earlier, just being really relevant with the season that we're in. Speaking specifically into how Wild Tree can best serve them in this season. So obviously it's almost mid-May. We're coming up to end of school. Sometimes people are like, I can't put one more thing on my plate. But if we can flip that mentality and help them to realize that by putting this one more thing on their plate, we're actually saving them over a dozen hours, the sanity, the cost of going to the grocery store, and we're stocking either their freezer to get through the end of the school year, or we're stocking their freezer to start the summer off completely set up, ready to go. So let's post about kind of context in ways that are a big fat exclamation point on either booking, hosting their own, or attending one. So we can post on that, but just get your mind thinking about, relevant ways to serve your people this season and why now is a good time.
Yeah. Great idea. Okay. I want to hear, any other questions on booking so far? Okay. And I think you guys have some action points to take. And then I would love to hear from you guys, how many people do you plan to reach out to before our next call next Tuesday? It's going to be Tuesday night at 8:30 next week. How many people? Throw it out there. Wait, Vanessa says 5. 5 a day, right, Vanessa?
A day, Vanessa.
5 a day, Vanessa.
Touches. Call, text, email, Facebook message, their best method of communication. Touches.
Danielle said she's going to reach out to 50 people in the next week. Yep.
I'm in for 50.
Okay, I'll do 50. All right, I'm writing 50 down. Who else? What are your other ones? 40.
I did.
I'm in for 40.
All right. All right, Shannon said 25. Awesome. Amy said 25 too. Kayla's doing 45.
Can you hear me? This is Jeannie.
Yeah, we can now.
Okay, I'm in for 40.
40.
I'm in for 40.
Lisa's in for 40.
I'll do 40.
I'll do 40.
All right.
I reached out to 5 tonight before this call. Do those count? No.
Oh, you're pushing me.
I'm in for 40.
Who is that?
It's Beth Root.
All right, Beth, you're on. Mandy, what about you?
I'm in for 60.
Wait, who was that? Is that Kathy?
Yeah, I'm in for 60. I'm not going to let anybody outdo me.
I love you, girl.
Then I'll have to say 61.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
go for it, man. Is that Mandy?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
Of
you
course
know it
it's
is.
Kathy.
Did it, girl. I love it.
Toe to toe, Kathy, toe to toe.
That's awesome. All right.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? Yep, Danielle said, all depends on how fast you want to grow. What's your goal? Again, it's back to that goal, and I really encourage you. You really got to do that. First thing you got to do is figure out why you're here, what you're doing, what your goal is, and then let's go for it. Because once you know that and once you make that decision, everything else is going to be really clear in your next steps. Anything else tonight, you guys? We're at 9:15, so we're going to wrap it up here. And I will post this to our page. I'll put it on YouTube and get it on our page so other people can see it too. Anything else? All right. Thanks for coming on tonight. We'll post the next call, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.